my greatest moment, even though it was the ugliest moment in the situation when it happened, was I came home to my family. We lost our house 30
Yeah.
days after I told them. We lost our stuff, our cars. I told my wife and children we're losing everything because of what I've done. And they did not know what was going on because I hadn't shared it with them. I thought, the one big client would come in or someone would buy this disaster of a business from me. And my daughter at the time, she was 9, she ran to her bedroom to grab her piggy bank. I'll never forget this. And she ran to me and she put it on the table and she's looking at me and she's crying. I'm crying. She goes, Daddy, she goes, you can't provide for our family anymore, but I'll start doing it. And she was saving money to buy a horse one day, and those nickels and quarters she slid across the table to me. And I felt this deep, deep sense of shame and embarrassment. My God, my 9-year-old is saving me. I went into depression, struggled with depression for 2 years. I never went to seek out therapy, which was the biggest mistake. I started drinking a lot more to self-medicate, to disconnect. But it was in that period I had to re-investigate what I thought I knew about business. And I then realized I know very little. I know very little. Maybe I can start a business, make and sell a little bit, but I really don't know how to make it profitable. I don't know how to make it run without me. I don't know how to make it do X, Y, Z. And so what I did was I committed. I said, starting now, this is 2 years after that moment, I'm going to do everything I can to relearn entrepreneurship at the most fundamental level. I'm going to challenge every notion that exists, because if it doesn't work, I'm going to find out what does. So I'm going to study everything and see what the data shows. And if it ain't working for most entrepreneurs, I'm going to fix it.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Unlocked from Within. Today's guest is Mike Michalowicz. He is an entrepreneur behind 3 multi-million-dollar companies and is the author of several business books, including best-selling book Profit First, which has sold more than 1 million copies. His other notable books are called Clockwork, The Pumpkin Plan, and his newest book, All In. Mike is a former small business columnist for the Wall Street Journal and a business makeover expert for MSNBC. Mike has empowered countless entrepreneurs to transform their business from cash-eating monsters into money-making machines. As a sought-after speaker, trusted advisor, and serial entrepreneur himself, Mike brings a wealth of wisdom and practical insights to the table. Let's welcome Mike to Unlocked from Within. Hey Mike, welcome to Unlocked from Within.
Hi, Marty. It's a joy to be with you.
It's an honor to have you on the show. The book Profit First it's been a powerful book for myself. It's in my top 10 books just with what it's done in my businesses. So I do want to get straight into it and tell us about your story.
Yeah. So, entrepreneur my whole adult life, or most of it, I should say, ever since university. And today I'm an author. For the last 15 years, the reason behind it is even though I've been an entrepreneur, I haven't always been successful. I had some exits, which sounds great, but I also had some big calamities, big crashes, and also when I operated businesses, they weren't profitable. They looked healthy from the outside; they were dying inside. I 15 years ago had kind of a wake up call and said, what am I going to do with my life? And I said, I'm going to figure out entrepreneurship from the roots. And I'm going to challenge every established belief that's out there and find what I believe to be the real truth. I'm going to do it through testing and research and interviewing, my God, thousands, tens of thousands of people now, and finding out these perennial truths. When I find something, I commit to testing it in my own. I own multiple businesses, testing in my own businesses. And when I know it works for sure, then codifying it, putting it into a book and sharing with other folks to benefit from it. I got to admit, every book I've written selfishly is serving me too, because these are things I need for myself.
Mm. Powerful, powerful. Yeah, how I stumbled onto Profit First, it was had a product-based business and I came from a background of service-based business, selling industrial retail, selling and leasing
Sure.
industrial retail, commercial real estate, service-based business, and then went into selling. I've got a snow brand because I love snowboarding,
Mm.
which is the NFPD snow brand. But I was like, oh yeah, I've just got to put the same amount of effort and hours into it, and I didn't realize that how much more energy, how many more moving parts, so many more overheads that you're juggling, that it wasn't until I think it was year 3 or 2.5 years in that we were like, "Oh, we're getting lots and lots of sales, but are we profitable?" And then the question was, no, we're not. And then it's
Yeah.
like, and then the other question part of it was like, when are we going to get paid? Because
Yeah.
we had that mentality of, oh, okay, I guess well, the business will just eventually pay us.
Yeah. So that's one of the biggest challenges that I hope to help entrepreneurs overcome is the belief that if I'm not profitable now, if I grow more, that I will be profitable at some point in the future. And inevitably, it actually lessens the likelihood because what we do is we have something that's not working now, we're selling and it's not profitable. Increasing the volume of what's not working doesn't make things better. It feels like it would. And we have this artificial loop back or feedback, which is cash flow. So every time you sell, if you can collect the money quickly, we have the sensation that we're making more money, but then we have to earn it out by doing the actual work or delivering the product. There's costs associated with it. So many businesses get caught in the cash flow game. They're not profitable now. So they say, gosh, I got to sell more. They start selling more and they say, yes, look, more cash is coming in, not understanding that money's going to go right back out as you try to sustain this. And then when they do feel that, they say, well, we got to sell even more to get more cash flow. Those businesses, it comes crumbling down. The day comes where you can't keep selling more and more. And if you plateau your sales, all those expenses come rushing behind it and it takes the business out. So what I help to teach businesses and what I do with my own business is we got to be profitable from day one. The second we start, every transaction needs to be profitable. And if we're already in business, let's stop worrying about sales. Let's start worrying about profitable sales and start reorienting the business. It's funny. It's these established businesses, these quote unquote big businesses doing millions and millions or tens of millions in revenue or hundreds of millions in revenue that are actually harder to make more profit, harder to make profitable than a brand new business. Because a brand new business doesn't know right from wrong. They don't have established momentum. They don't have a market presence. So we can just set it up right from the get-go. It's these more established businesses that we have to unwind, re-educate the market, increase prices, fix margins, bring about efficiencies. But I will tell you this, any business can be profitable starting tomorrow. That's why I wrote Profit First, is you start taking your profit. And what will happen is when you start allocating that profit, it'll force your hand to make those hard decisions on efficiency and margins and all the different things today, rather than playing the cash flow game and then worrying about that stuff one day in the future when it's too late.
Powerful, powerful. And like for you, like you say in the book, like was it after the second business that you sold that you sort of realized you needed to change? If you're going to go into business at the third time, you've got to change something on the day to day. Is that what happened?
Yeah, it's a little more tragic, but that's effectively it. I grew two businesses in the tech space, both in tech services. The first company I sold to private equity. Second business I sold to a Fortune 500. So I believed, oh, just build businesses quickly and dump them, and that's how you make your money. I did start a third business as an angel investor, and I was horrible at it. I didn't know what I was doing. I was aimlessly putting money in these businesses, assuming that if you start a business and you sell it, that's how you make money. So I'll just start as many as possible. But I had no clue what I was doing. I was totally clueless. Additionally, I was so arrogant. I believed I have to live my new lifestyle. I have this amazing standard. And so forth. Because I sold two businesses. So my expenditures personally skyrocketed to meet my new life standard, and my income, hit the floor. It dived into the cave because I had no idea what I was doing. So 2 years after selling my second business, all that spending came to an abrupt stop because I had vacated all my money. I was on the verge of bankruptcy. And the story I share in my book, and this became my greatest moment, even though it was the ugliest moment in the situation when it happened, was I came home to my family. We lost our house 30 days after I told them. We lost our stuff, our cars. I told my wife and children we're losing everything because of what I've done. And they did not know what was going on because I hadn't shared it with them. I thought, the one big client would come in or someone would buy this disaster of a business from me. And my daughter at the time, she was 9, she ran to her bedroom to grab her piggy bank. I'll never forget this. And she ran to me and she put it on the table and she's looking at me and she's crying. I'm crying. She goes, Daddy, she goes, you can't provide for our family anymore, but I'll start doing it. And she was saving money to buy a horse one day, and those nickels and quarters she slid across the table to me. And I felt this deep, deep sense of shame and embarrassment. Like, my God, my 9-year-old is saving me. I went into depression, struggled with depression for 2 years. I never went to seek out therapy, which was the biggest mistake. I started drinking a lot, more to self-medicate, to disconnect. But it was in that period I had to investigate what I thought I knew about business. And I then realized I know very little. I know very little. Maybe I can start a business, make and sell a little bit, but I really don't know how to make it profitable. I don't know how to make it run without me. I don't know how to make it do X, Y, Z. And so what I did was I committed. I said, starting now, this is 2 years after that moment, I'm going to do everything I can to relearn entrepreneurship at the most fundamental level. I'm going to challenge every notion that exists, because if it doesn't work, I'm going to find out what does. So I'm going to study everything and see what the data shows. And if it ain't working for most entrepreneurs, I'm going to fix it. And that's been my last 15 years. And I truly believe it's going to be the rest of my life, is trying to find the things that make entrepreneurship simpler, make it more accessible, and help entrepreneurs achieve what they want, which is personal freedom, financial freedom. Entrepreneurs don't just deserve that. The world needs that. We're the creator of jobs. If entrepreneurs fail, we're all done. And so I'm vehement about finding this out and sharing everything I find.
Amazing. And you had a funny story in the book where you talk about the kids eating everything in the house.
Oh,
and you had your aha moment. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I have two sons. I have a daughter and two sons. And at the time, my two sons were teenage boys. The food consumption, if you've been a teenage boy, if you ever have teenage boys, you'll get this. But just being a teenage boy, the food consumption is unbelievable, and they were tearing through food. And I won't recount the whole story, but it is funny. They wake up at 2:00 in the afternoon. That's their morning time, and they smell and they fill up the bowls. But what I realized, my sons would grab a bowl for cereal. They'd pour the cereal in, and it would overflow it, and they'd pack as much as they could in there, and then they would eat and go back to their lair. Well, what I realized was this concept called Parkinson's law. And what Parkinson's law says that the container dictates the consumption. So it's not how much we actually want to consume, it's how much is made available to us will dictate how much we consume. And this is true for everything, like time. If you and I are discussing a contract and I say, I'll get it to you in 1 week, it'll probably take me a week. The container is 1 week. But if the same guys have the same conversation, but I'll say, I'll get to you in 1 day. Everything else is the same. I'll likely get to you in a day. I've condensed the container. So I said, oh, I'm going to get smaller bowls. Now, the trick with this is you got to do it in stages. I didn't get these little dessert cups. I got slightly smaller bowls. Because if I went too fast, they would notice, go, hey, Dad, what's going on? I got slightly smaller ones. And they didn't notice. And I did it for about a month, and I got slightly smaller bowls. And I had reduced the size of the bowls over about 6 months to half the size. And they literally never noticed. Their behavior didn't change. They kept on filling it up. But now the consumption was half because the container was half. And this was a realization, my gosh, this is how money works. You may have noticed in your own business, Marty, and anyone listening in, as we get more income, the container, the bank account is getting bigger. We spend more. It's the big cereal bowl. And we don't even feel it. It's a subconscious behavior, but we spend it all. So what we do with Profit First is we start reducing the containers. We carve up that cash that comes in to different responsibilities. We even hide some money away so you don't steal from yourself. And what's left over to operate the business is a smaller container. And just like my sons, you start to adjust. My favorite part, though, is I've had the opportunity now to survey well over 100,000 entrepreneurs, sometimes through informal surveys at speaking engagements, other times online. And what I hear consistently is with less money made available to the business, it does not compromise the business's performance. It doesn't slow down growth. In fact, it actually sparks faster growth. This is the fascinating thing. It does the reverse. And these businesses are profitable. So many businesses, we don't need to change anything in them. We just take the profit first. We reduce the container to operate the business, and they subconsciously or consciously start to adjust their spend, and the business right sizes itself.
Wow. Wow. It's something that I found fascinating for us. Like it took us, and you say it in the book, it might take a few times to
Hmm.
getting into the habit and committing, for many months. And you'll know within your own business if you're allocating into these little accounts, sub accounts too much.
Yeah.
And I found what worked for myself was whenever a sale was coming in each day to then transfer it on a daily basis. For some reason, that
Yeah.
was working better. But we were like, oh, we'll just start with $10 a day going into each account. And then I was like, oh, yep, this is working. And then we quickly ramped it up to $20 a day.
Yeah.
Even though you were saying just leave it for 3 months and see if you don't touch those accounts for 3 months, then it's the sign to go to the next stage,
Yes.
increasing. And I was like, oh no, it's working really well. I'll just see if I can speed it up. But no, ended up we ended up taking funds from each account and
Yeah. And
buying
start putting it back. Yeah,
putting
that
it back and
happens.
moving it around. And so then that was the realization, let's just start it, bring it back to $5 a day and start from there.
Good for you.
Um, what was
There's an
interesting,
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah. I'm
what was
sorry.
interesting was like the unforeseen circumstance would pop up and we'd have to dump all
Yep.
the accounts. And
Yep.
for myself, instead of being, oh, we had the money, I was annoyed that I had to start again with the accounts. And
Yeah.
it might have taken me maybe like 4 weeks or 6 weeks to get back into the habit of just getting back into it. What was fascinating was in that period, organically, our sales dropped.
Oh, interesting.
And so this happened 3 times over the course of 2 years, this cycle of, dumping the
Yeah.
accounts. And so I just wanted to know, like, what do you think, like, the psychology of that or the behavior of that, where it's like we got more sales organically when we stuck to the system?
Yeah.
Is it a
Yeah. There's,
worthiness, like a worthiness belief,
yeah,
do you think?
there is some interesting behavioral stuff. And thanks for asking what the psychology is, because I think some people don't realize that Profit First is a behavioral based cash management system. I'm not a psychologist. I didn't study it in university, but it is an absolute passion of mine. I've read more content on it, interviewed more people about the behavioral psychology of so many elements, because I believe when we understand how our mind operates, we can start putting guardrails into channel the outcomes. So Profit First, probably I've been engaged about 30, maybe even 40 different behavioral components. Actually can't remember the names. I documented them once, but there's one called hyperbolic discounting, which applies here. Loss aversion is another one, but hyperbolic discounting is where we put more significance on short-term reward, even if it's less than the long-term reward, because the long term's too far out. So if I said, hey, I'll give you $5 today, or I'll give you $10 in a year from now, you're probably more likely to say, give me the $5 now. Logically, we know that's 100% interest in return in 1 year. $10 is a far better deal. But hyperbolic discounting says, no, get it now. Bird in hand's worth two in the bush. So what happens with Profit First is when we start doing it, we're like, wow, I just put $5 away or $10 away. That's a no-brainer. It's working. Next morning, let me put $20 away. This is easy. So we start putting more significance in the moment without considering the long term. Oh, there's a big expense coming that we can't even see. We're almost subconsciously blind to it. There's the unexpected that's going to happen. Or there's the expected, but we're just discounting it. The mortgage, the rent's going to pay, employee payroll is going to happen, but it doesn't feel it. And then it comes. And when it hits, hyperbolic discounting causes us to do this flip over and say, my gosh, we got no money. Clear out all the accounts, fix this. Everything's, we're in big trouble. And we get this kind of purge and binge, gluttony and starvation kind of oscillation. So the method we use is a technique called habituation, but basically you start slow and you build it. You start slow and you let it grow over time to build in this habit. What's interesting about habituation is something at a certain point will be so consistent that we don't even consciously think about it. Just that's the normal thing. So with Profit First, we start with a small allotment, something that won't affect you negatively. So when a surprise comes, business basically feels the same. Well, now over time, this profit's starting to grow, and it's not affecting us negatively in any way. That's when we start increasing it. We found these 3-month increments. Most businesses experience most unexpected and big things once every 3 months. So if we can get you past 3 months at a slow level, then we can amplify it a little bit and build it out. What I found is most businesses, we have well over 800,000 deployments of Profit First globally now. Most of them have taken about 2 years to get into the full system. They started today. It's like, there's a question, when's the best time to plant a tree? 40 years ago, second best times today. Start today, but start small. If you go too fast, too big, you'll injure the business, you'll compromise the system, you'll throw it out the window. Start slowly, and let's see how we grow. And maybe 6 months from now, you're a little more aggressive, and then 12 months from now, whatever, you're more aggressive and you build it out over time.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Like one of my clients, he has a lawnmower business. He just started the Profit First system in December, and he was on a little bit of like government assistance. And he said this is the first time he's going off government assistance. They said maybe this is a good time to get into the habit of setting up the Profit First system. And I literally just had a session with him yesterday, and he said he started this business in 2013, and as of last week, he did his biggest week of sales to date. So,
Wow.
that it's a powerful system.
Yeah. So, and it's funny, you asked earlier, like, is there a correlation between profitability and sales? And the evidence says yes. How come when we take more profit first, there's less money to operate the business? How come more sales present themselves? It seems like there would be a reverse correlation. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
Well, here's why it makes sense. When you take your profit first, you have less money to spend, which means you need to be more cognitive of the money you have to spend. You have to be more selective. So what business owners will do consciously, or in many cases subconsciously, say, oh, we only have $100 as opposed to $150. What can I do with $100? It's called Parkinson's law. It's another behavioral theory. But as we pointed out earlier, as a supply is constrained, we use less, but also we become more innovative. So in most cases, a business that has less money to spend, we become more innovative in how we sell. We target the better customers more aggressively. We feel a hunger because there's less money there. So we actually maybe sell more actively, but it triggers many of the components that bring about a better positioning of the business because we're leveraging the things that work. We're using money more cautiously. Our energy increases to sell because we want to cause more cash flows to the OpEx. So there's a lot of these behavioral trends that use that. So we often see a correlative effect of more profit, more growth.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. And I guess because it's taking also, you're shifting from being out of a reactive state of that bill's coming up, and that's taking up time, space, and energy in your head each day. That would free you up to actually innovate.
Yeah. And so we can make better sales too. So you can innovate, but you're not hungry for, every sale is not the same. When someone says, I sold 10 clients and made $1,000, and someone else says I sold 10 clients and made $1,000, that is not the same business or same money. One client could be a total nag and could chew up so much time. Another client could be so demanding that you'll never earn that money back. And a few clients could be exceptional. When we are profitable, we don't have this panic necessity to bring in cash immediately. We start to cherry pick the clients. We are more critical of how qualified they are for us. And so therefore they become a better client. And that is much better for ongoing profitability, and actually sales grow faster because you're targeting the better quality client that you want to serve. And therefore, since you want to serve them, they have a better service experience. They will expand their demand, or people like them will start appearing, as opposed to just taking anybody and everybody.
Powerful. And I think what greater time, we're dealing with recessions and job losses and all that. If someone's considering it, I think Profit First is one of the most powerful things to do going through these periods. Do you agree with that?
Well, I'm very biased, right? I think Profit First is going to help you for sure. It's transformed my life for sure. The last major kind of recession was COVID. It was kind of a unique blippy time, but a lot of businesses got hammered during that time. I lost 50% of my revenue.
Yeah.
And we didn't miss a beat. Not that we were necessarily preparing for a calamity or a problem like that. But A, we had profit reserves, and you can use profit reserves to sustain a business. Secondly, we were able to react quickly and make some adjustments in our business to bring health to it because we were always focused on health by taking profitability. So I say, yeah, it helps in a recession. It definitely helps to do it prior to a recession. So don't like wait until there's bad times and then try to be profitable. Definitely start today. And it can help you prepare for that, both mentally and on a cash basis.
Amazing, amazing. And just one last story, like what's your biggest case study that you've seen, like in terms of turning it around, whether it's in 6 months, 12 months, in a business that was just in the red?
Sure. I'll give you two. One, because it's an Australian company, and I don't know, the guy's name is Paul. I don't remember his last name. He emails me literally every month. I got to pull it up. Since I think 5 years ago, he found Profit First. He had over $1 million of debt, and he's using Profit First to eradicate it. And it's a small business. He's under $500,000, and every month he gives me his report. And just to see that him moving through this is unbelievable. He's not declaring bankruptcy. He's seeing his way through it. So his story is not over, and it's a long journey for him, but it's a relentless nonstop. And every time he's a little bit closer, he says, I know with the day I'm out of this debt, the next profit distribution is going all to me. So that gets me excited for him. But my favorite story is probably a team that you may have heard of called the Savannah Bananas out of here in the US. It's a baseball team. And if you haven't heard of them, you will, Marty. Their popularity is exploding globally. Well, what they are is a baseball team, but they've redefined the industry of baseball, and Profit First played a part of it. I got an email from the owner of the Savannah Bananas, and he said, during the minor leagues, we took our Profit First, and we said, my gosh, we don't have enough money for a scoreboard. We can't maintain it or run it. What baseball team doesn't have a scoreboard? And they said, this baseball team won't have a scoreboard. They said, we're going to have people in the audience come down and hold up the score, kind of like it's a boxing ring between bouts, and hold up the score. Then they said, gosh, we can't afford a mascot or some cheer team. So they asked people in the stands, and particularly they asked for people who were 80 years or older, and teeth were optional. And they said, you're going to be our Grandma Bananas cheer squad. And the audience loses its mind. Well, fast forward to today, they've redefined baseball. It's the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball. They are more profitable than any baseball team in the world. And I'm not saying just the minor leagues, the major leagues too. And when I say more profitable, I mean on a percentage basis. The major league teams have way more cash flow through them, but the Savannah Bananas on a percentage basis is more profitable. They have sold out every single season 5,000 people to a game, including 2024 this year, and 2025 is already sold out. Profit First is not the reason for all their success, but it was the catalyst behind some of their success. It forced them to be innovative, to look at their business differently. The owner, Jesse Cole, his wife too, Emily Cole, are highly innovative and extraordinary marketers, and great people giving a great contribution now globally. They travel the world with their baseball team and entertaining families. And I'm proud that Profit First is part of their story.
It's amazing. That's, an amazing story. And, it's just amazing to see worldwide the impact it's having. Like, obviously I'm in Australia, and it's impacting all my clients and everyone around the world. So, it's something I think everyone should have a check out. Like I said, it's one of my top 10 all-time books because of the difference it's made in my life and my businesses. So again, thank you for coming on today on Unlocked From Within. It's been such an honor, and love to do it again.
That would be a joy. Marty, thanks for having me.
Take care. Thanks, Mike.
All right. Bye-bye.
If you love today's episode, could you please do us a favor and like and comment on what insights you learned from the episode? And please comment who else you'd like interviewed in the future. Your comments do make a difference in us being able to grow the show further and get future guests. If you think the episode could really help someone, please share the episode with them. If you'd love to learn more about Mike and get access to the treasure trove of entrepreneurial tips, visit Michalowicz.com. He is also available on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and I'll have links in the show notes also. If you'd love to purchase the Profit First book, it's available on Kindle, audiobook, and hardcover on Amazon. If you're interested in removing a subconscious blockage or limiting belief and would like a session with me, please reach out to me at martyclay.com. It's available in one-on-one sessions, which are over Zoom or in person. If you're interested in my next workshops or corporate events, please also visit martyclay.com. Again, thanks for listening.